Well, hello everyone. Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Keep out of that heat out there. I don't know, that's crazy. But stay cool, okay? And stay here at the Fitchburg Senior Center where you've got a nice air-conditioned building to be in. But I tell you, I got a couple questions for you. How many of you know about our city and how new businesses come to our city? Many of you? No? Okay. How many of you have ever had a question about housing in the city of Fitchburg? Where we're going and what's the new stuff? Yeah? What's the new stuff coming to Fitchburg? Questions on that? Yeah? Okay. Well, I tell you what, then you're in the right place today. Because we have a gentleman who can tell you and answer all questions for you. We have an opportunity today to hear from the Director of Economic Development for the city of Fitchburg, Mike Zimmerman. Better known, though, as Mike Z. All right? So I want you to put your hands together and welcome Mike Z to this podium.
Thank you, Janice, for the nice introduction. And good afternoon, everybody. Great to be with you today. As Janice indicated, I'm Mike Zimmerman, the Economic Development Director for the City of Fitchburg. And I've been with the city, it's hard to believe, 30 years now. So I go back a long time and have been working on economic development, community development, redevelopment, infill development. Now housing has become a local priority, as well as tourism, marketing, and promotion, working with our Fitchburg Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Business Bureau. So I'm going to give an update on some city priorities and initiatives, and then also take you on a tour of the city with all of the development activity that's occurring all around Fitchburg. We're fortunate to have a lot of growth and development taking place. Feel free to ask a question as I'm going along on the tour, or I can take questions at the end too. So except from these two over here, the rabble rousers on the site there. Okay. But again, glad to be with you today. And I did bring some Fitchburg pens. Help yourself to some Fitchburg pens. My business cards are there. And then we have two mugs that I could probably ask a question to start it out with. Fitchburg incorporated in 1983. We had been a township since 1847, okay? But years ago, we weren't named Fitchburg. What was our previous name that... Rich has got it, yeah. We were the town of Greenfield. And then we gave it up so they could keep Greenfield and Milwaukee and everything there. And then we had the Irish settlers that brought us Fitchburg, patterned after Fitchburg, Massachusetts there. So that's one. And then with my 30 years here, I started out with Mayor Doug Morissette. And in my 30 years here, I am now on what number of mayor? How many mayors have I worked with over 30 years?
10.
Numbers?
6.
5.
No.
3.
30 years, so
6,
probably
8.
6 and 7.
6.
7. I mean,
8. 7.
10?
20.
30 years.
36.
No. Oh,
Okay, 12. 15.
lower.
11.
Oh, 11.
10.
Lower.
9.
Got it. 9. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we and the reason I share that with you is one of the things in my capacity is we've had a lot of elected leadership turnover through the years, and as we're trying to keep initiatives going forward, it's always a challenge sometimes when we have a change in administration because we have a new person kind of coming in, and it takes a while to kind of get acclimated and to work through the processes and plans and keep them all moving forward. But we've been able to make good progress over 30 years and keep initiatives and projects moving forward. And speaking of the elected officials, we currently have Mayor Julia Radafrada, and then we have 8 council members that represent 4 aldermanic districts. And the mayor's term is now 3 years, and then we have alder terms, which are 2 years, and the even-numbered seats are up during the even-numbered years, and the odd-numbered seats are up during the odd-numbered years. So every year we have an election in Fitchburg, so something to look forward to for you and keep participating in. The other thing we like to encourage is community engagement and following what's going on in Fitchburg. And you got a couple of opportunities here. On the top of this slide, if you go out to our city website, we have, you can sign up for what's called Notify Me, and you can get links to agendas sent to you for council, plan commission, public works, so that way you can kind of follow along as far as what's going on in the city. And then if you specifically want to keep track of development projects, if you go to our Fitchburg GIS Maps page, you can click on the development application viewer, and there's little dots on the map, and you can click on that, and that will tell you what that project is about at that particular site. And I think somebody's phone is going off from one of the walkers here. So I'm not sure if somebody needs to take a call. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. And on this slide, here is Fitchburg at a glance in 2026. Fitchburg is one of the most unique communities in the state of Wisconsin with geographic diversity, ethnic diversity, and also economic diversity there. So we are now 36,197 in population. We're one of the fastest growing communities in the state of Wisconsin, with Dane County also being the fastest growing county in the state of Wisconsin. We've got 6.16 billion tax base now. And with that population growth and that tax base growth, that's led Moody's Investors 2 years ago awarded us with a AAA bond rating. So for all of you as taxpayers and residents of Fitchburg, that's a good thing, because that means that we're good financial stewards with our finances and with our tax dollars there. So something to be very proud of as our community and as the city of Fitchburg. With a growing community, of course, we need to invest in our facilities to accommodate that growth. So if you look out across from the library and kitty corner from City Hall, we have the new police facility under construction. $35 million project, 60,000 square feet, and they're planning to move into that in the early part of 2027. And then once the police, right now they're in the lower level of City Hall on the north side. Once they move into their new building, then City Hall in 2027, April, is going to start probably a $17 million renovation of City Hall. Because City Hall, believe it or not, is almost 30 years old. It's hard to believe that it's been around that long, and we still got the original carpet up at City Hall, and need to really modernize kind of the workstations and the work areas and everything. So stay tuned for that. There will be some disruption. I'm not sure where they're going to move us all to, but they're planning to start in April, and then it'll be finished, I think they said, in December. But much needed investments in our community. Speaking of investments, some of the older sections of Fitchburg that developed when we were still a town. So North Fish Hatchery Road, the Southdale neighborhood on the east side, that was in the town of Madison, that came to Fitchburg after 2022, and then the Belmar and Jamestown neighborhoods are those older sections of Fitchburg that developed when we were still a town. And so we've got the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative, where we're focused on revitalization, infill development, and enhancing those neighborhoods. And one of the investments that we made recently on North Fish Hatchery Road, just north of Traceway Drive across from the Highline Senior Apartments, is the Hostahoche Community and Neighborhood Center up there to bring us some much needed space for the community and also for our residents up there in that neighborhood. Have you been there?
It's
On Pitch Hatchet.
It's
I'm not a
open,
pitch
but it's
on
open
line.
on certain activities that they have. It's open.
Fitchburg.
Yeah. Our deputy city administrator right now is the one that's kind of scheduling and administering that one. Oh, it's open now. It just has.
But they use it for activities.
Yeah.
You all go
Yeah.
past it and look, sometimes they have activities out there.
Yeah, it is complete though, and
I walk my
yeah.
dog back there, so it's kids playing on the playground and,
Yeah.
you know, it's open, but it's not open constantly, but they have different activities in that building.
it also serves as one of our polling places up there too in the neighborhood as well. The items that Fitchburg is known for is cycling. We've got 5 state bike trails that traverse through Fitchburg, so that's part of our brand. And we've got a network of B-cycle stations strategically positioned around the city that you can literally traverse east and west throughout the community and access those B-cycle stations. So if you're inclined and interested in that, definitely take advantage of that amenity. You might remember that Fitchburg used to be known on our Welcome to Fitchburg signs, used to say Wisconsin's recycling leader, which was a legacy that we were very proud of. We were the first community in the state of Wisconsin that had a recycling program. That legacy now is transformed into a sustainability plan that was adopted by our council in April of 2025. So we're committed to that kind of sustainability and those initiatives. And an example of that is we have 4 solar farms in the city of Fitchburg. We're literally growing energy here in partnership with Madison Gas and Electric, which we're very proud of. One thing we've done in Fitchburg to facilitate development projects through our entitlement and approval process here is we've instituted and launched development team meetings, which take place every Tuesday. We've got 2 standing appointments that developers can come in and work with city staff in a one-stop shop. You can see the list of departments there on the right-hand side that are at those meetings. So instead of applicants having to go to each individual department, they can come to this meeting and get all their answers and questions and answers at this particular meeting. We've also instituted an online application system, so you don't even have to come into City Hall anymore to submit an application for a building permit. That's available to you 365, 24/7, and submit those online. And then we've contracted with a group by the name of ePlan. So when somebody's ready to submit for their building permit, ePlan has a 15-day review time and turnaround, which in the development world, time is money, so anything that we can do to help facilitate them through that process is good for them and also good for the city of Fitchburg. We get a lot of questions sometimes about how much we grow, where we grow. The document on the right-hand side, Growing Fitchburg 2030, is Fitchburg's comprehensive plan. By state statute, each community is supposed to have a comprehensive plan, and you are required to update it at a minimum every 10 years. And our last document was updated in 2019. But with being in one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Wisconsin, one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Wisconsin, we're in desperate need of an update both with our comp plan and then our zoning code and our sign code hasn't been updated since we incorporated as a city in 1983. And lots of things have changed in the economy. So there's a real need to modernize our zoning code and our sign code. So our planning colleagues in their department have launched not only a major comp plan update, but a zoning code rewrite and sign code. Just this month, they're starting that process. It'll be a 2-year process to get through all of that work. But I would encourage you to follow along, because this is your chance to offer input, ideas, and perspective, and you're welcome to be engaged in part of that process. Here you can see the northern part of Fitchburg where we have the urban service area, and this kind of shows you where we have some pockets of vacant land currently in our community, although it says 1,560 acres, but I was looking at some of the colors, and I already came up with another 200 acres that are already under development. So we don't have as much vacant acreage available as we think we do at this point in time. And one of the challenges in my role in the city is sometimes there's vacant land and people are like, well, why aren't we developing there? The city of Fitchburg doesn't own that land. So a lot of the timing and the factor of when you're going to see development on a parcel might be when the family or the property owner that owns it is ready to come to a decision point to make that land available. So sometimes when you're seeing vacant land and you're saying, why isn't anything happening there? It could be those landowner decisions that, we're kind of waiting on and staying in communication about. Two recent neighborhood plans that the City Council approved in September of 2025 is the South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan at the corner of Fitchburg Road and Lacey Road south of there, and then the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan on the east side of Fitchburg, where we've got the rural residential subdivision, which is a remnant of our township days there. So we got both of these neighborhood plans approved. The land is still currently outside of our urban service area, so there isn't sewer and water utilities available at this point in time. And here again, the extension of urban service area will be contingent upon when landowners are ready to see some of their land developed. And on the west side in the South Stoner Prairie, we've got some of that land still being quarried at this point in time by Yahar Materials and Payne and Dolan. So even though we need more land, both for industrial development and specifically for single-family residential development and subdivisions, right now we can't get access to some of this land because of those timing decisions. Do you have a question?
The question I had is that here in Pittsburgh, okay, how the developing all these lands, getting developed, why can't we get a dog park so close to this area instead of way down the Chancery?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm just happy that we got one. At least, at least it's a start and everything. I think there have been some conversations with developers about maybe trying to incorporate some smaller ones, in some of the neighborhoods, but nothing has definitely come forward, at this point in time, for it. But I can pass that along to our parks director, that there's interest in kind of one a little closer in, further north and everything.
Community center right back over there. And another question I had is that our seniors that live in Highline, why, they need a place where that they have to go way across the street to smoke. They have to sit over there in that park area and smoke. They cannot smoke across the street. So I was wondering if they could just put a little bit apart where they can go over there and put some type of city equipment over there where they can go over there and smoke.
My understanding is that,
I can see them over there.
my understanding is we've got the Hostohochi Community Center now. I think in the future, there is some type of plan for something on the south side of Traceway, but I don't know the timing of that. Okay, so that would kind of be between Highline and the clubhouse for the golf course and also for the Renew at the greens there. But I don't know what the details are on that, but I thought there was going to be something on the south side of Traceway that would be some type of public place or space, there. So that would be another question for our parks director on that one.
Is that the traffic that goes up and down Traceway, we had vowed to put speed bumps there.
Okay.
And lights there, but it never came through. So we have kids, since we got the playground now, we have kids running back and forth, across the street. And plus, there's no way that the cars will stop in order for them to come across the street. Can we get one of those blinker things where that if they speed up the hill, come down the hill, if they hit that blinker thing, the cars would have to stop? Because I saw one day, last week, a lady almost got hit coming across that street with them cars running back and forth up there, and they don't slow down. They don't slow down. They just, we are
I concur. It's very busy there.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we are vowed for speed bumps and lights. I've been here almost 6 years, and nothing has happened.
What I'll do is I will pass that along to Public Works. There's a process that Public Works has to go through for what they call traffic calming. And so first I know they put like the counters down on the pavement, and there's kind of a whole analysis that they have to do. So I'm just taking some notes here. So I will mention that to our Public Works department and everything.
They coming down Traceway.
yeah.
There.
But thank you for your questions. I appreciate that. And I wrote down dog park, and I wrote down kind of maybe a sitting area on the south side of Traceway Drive there for parks. For it. Yeah.
Question, going back to these two new service areas here.
Sure.
You said they're not in the urban service area yet.
No.
Do we have the capability of adding them when it's time to come?
Yeah.
I've been an elected official in other communities where, yeah, we want to add it, but we don't have the facilities, and now we got to build new facilities. Do we have the capability to add these two facilities without adding a whole bunch of more additional service, sewage treatment plant and all that stuff?
Yeah. We're part of the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District, that's why we have to go to CARPC for an urban service area extension, which is the Capital Area Regional Plan, Commission. And then we have our local water utility. So our public works is always staying ahead of that as far as being able to accommodate it. The one challenge we'll have in Greenfield is how do you extend not only the sewer interceptor, but then how do you connect and work out the economics for those rural residents there? And that's something that we've been talking about internally, there, that when that time comes, are there any resources out there that could help with that? And I don't want to give any false hope to anybody, but I think that's going to be a challenge for us unless we can identify some resources there for it. But we're having internal conversations and thinking about those things as we look to the future there for it.
One more last thing.
Yeah.
As far as, would it be the Public Works Department that, dumb question, but if you're coming down Simon Road and where the fire department is,
Okay.
and you're coming towards the Quick Trip,
Yep.
there's a little roundabout there, or not a
Yeah.
roundabout, but you can't
Little
make-
traffic circle
Yeah, a
or,
little small one, but you can't make a left turn there. Except instead of having the sign where you see it in the middle, it's stuck in the trees on the side of the road. And I see people all the time making that left turn and going into that subdivision, and it's like, you can't see the sign. You're usually in the middle of the road where you can't make that left turn. But
okay. So are they turning into, to the east side downtown crossing, or are they turning into the west side Swan Creek?
Well, no, before you get to the Swan Creek, it's right after the fire department.
Okay.
There's that just a little bitty thing that I think was put there because of an accident a few years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
But the
Okay.
sign that says no left turn
Okay.
is on the right-hand side in the trees. You can't see it if you're coming up.
Okay.
People are making it, and it's like, okay.
Okay.
And I don't know who to talk to.
No, that would be Public Works and our Streets Department there.
Okay.
So I can at least mention that to them to
Yeah.
take a look at it.
Okay.
So appreciate the heads up on that for them. Okay. Any other questions yet? Otherwise, we'll continue on. And even though Fitchburg is one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Wisconsin, our goal has never been to grow the fastest. It just happens organically here. Our growth has always been on the quality of the growth and development, and that if you're going to invest in Fitchburg, you can be assured that the next project and the next developer that comes is going to be held to that same level of quality and standards. But we are experiencing really good growth. In 2025, we had $338 million in building permit construction activity with a really good balance of business, commercial, multifamily residential, and single-family development. So a good diversification of economic activity. Year-to-date in 2026, we're right now at about 193 with a couple of big projects still on deck that should be taking out building permits. So we should have another healthy year here in 2026. That's important not only for the building permit activity in the economy, but in an era of levy limits where local governments are limited as far as their annual increases. It's based off of net new construction. So good construction numbers like this helps us to be able to have resources to finance and manage our growth here in Fitchburg. A lot of communities aren't fortunate to have that, so we're in a better position than a lot of communities out there. We have our Forward Fitchburg City in Motion Economic Development Strategic Plan in the upper left corner there. And we're in the process of updating that document. We're working with Vanderwall and Associates right now. But in the current version, there's a recommendation to focus our growth along our building places and spaces along the 3 north-south corridors. So we've got Verona Road 18151 on the west, Fish Hatchery Road down the middle, and then Highway 14 on the east side. And again, we're fortunate and lucky that we're experiencing growth along all 3 of our north-south corridors. One of the local, sure, question?
Agricultural land are we losing?
Right now, we've got our urban service area that was in, I don't have that map up here, but the northern third is our urban service area at this point in time. The southern 2/3, is still in agriculture and green space. I don't have the number of acreage, off the top of my head here. In our current comp plan, that document that showed that 2030, we're projecting that we would grow about 75 acres per year there at kind of that pace. Some years we're maybe at that level, some years we're maybe below that level. So it just kind of depends. But we still have a farmland preservation program that we are a part of. And we consider agriculture to be a part of our local economy as well. So many things have changed in the agriculture, world that it's not necessarily the family farms anymore. A lot of our agriculture land is leased out, to other folks at this point in time. So we're trying to align ourselves with kind of the evolution of agriculture here and where are there opportunities and where we can be supportive. But it's a challenge, here. On this map, though, there's a local economic development tool titled, you might have heard of tax increment finance or tax increment districts. So we've got 3 strategically located. The one on the left is down Fish Hatchery Road. That's TID number 11. In the middle, the green one is the Southdale neighborhood on the east side, TID number 16. And then on the west side, along Verona Road, we've got TID number 17. That helps us to drive different types of development activity and redevelopment activity. One of the other recommendations in Forward Fitchburg is to continue to grow our science and technology economy. We've got a real good diversification of biotechnology, instrumentation, advanced manufacturing, agriculture, and we want to continue to kind of highlight all of those sectors, and we're well positioned with our central geographic area here in Fitchburg. So the first one, of course, that helps cement us in the science world is right here where we're located on the Fitchburg Center campus, Promega's campus. They continue to invest in their existing facilities. They've done a lot of new buildings over the last couple of years, but now they're sticking money into some of the buildings that have been on their campus probably 30 plus years. So you may not see it from the outside, but they're really upgrading and adding some laboratory manufacturing spaces there. The other thing that they're committed to is sustainability as well. And today at 2:30, they've on the north end of their property overlooking the E-Way and where the Nevins Springs are, they've built a boardwalk extending out into that environmental corridor, and we're having a dedication ceremony today with the mayor and the head of Promega Corporation, Bill Linton. And then that is accessible and open to the public. So if you have a chance and you're over in that area and you want to kind of check out the wetlands and the Nevin Springs there, please take advantage of that unique piece of infrastructure. And thanks to Promega for investing in that and opening it to the public. The other major investment on this campus, you might have seen the headline in the press conference a couple of weeks ago. Our friends at Grace are investing $40 million to transform their campus to incorporate a European holistic model for dementia care called Dementia Village, where they'll have 64 units. So this is really going to be an innovative model for caring for folks with dementia and a $40 million investment. So we appreciate their commitment to our community and to our residents that need services. As we head to the south of Promega, now we're by the Fitchburg Technology Campus, south of Lacey Road. We've had 2 recent business locations there in Compass Health, a physical rehabilitation hospital that has an affiliation with SSM, St. Mary's. And then we've had the Learning Experience Child Care Facility locate there. So with those two recent business locations, we have a couple of lots remaining there that are starting to get interest. There's nothing like new development to generate interest from new prospects and everything. So we'd like to fill out and build those lots out. To the east of Fitchburg Tech Campus, as you continue to head down Nobel Drive, we have Tech Lands that's anchored by Promega's Kepler Center. This is their processing facility that they expanded a couple years ago. And then we have, you can see the yellow bordered on the map there on the left-hand side. Those are actually 3 small lots that would be available for science and technology companies that are what they call certified sites in the state of Wisconsin by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. And that means that a lot of the due diligence is done. So if a company comes to us, we can move very quickly to get them into the ground because the analysis, the utilities, the engineering has all been kind of done on the front end. And then you hear a lot of chatter about data centers and the headlines and everything there. A lot of people don't realize Fitchburg has a small data center there along Nobel Drive. You can see it on the lower part there. It's now owned by U.S. Signal. I got a chance to work on that project back in the early 2000s. A really neat learning experience, and all the questions and concerns and conversations that are about data centers today, energy usage, water usage, noise, what becomes of the facility on the back end, are the same types of conversations that we had at this point on a smaller scale and everything. We feel we may have an opportunity to look at another one in our community if it's of the appropriate size and scale. We're not going to be a mega, like the DeForest one with 1,000 acres or anything. But we think we're open, at least if somebody wants to have conversations with us about taking a look at that. Good tax base and low need for services there. As we head to the east, now we're along Highway 14 and the Lacey Road interchange. This is our uptown neighborhood, and you can see the map for part of it, but it extends further to the north, and it's actually a 400-acre future neighborhood or evolving neighborhood. It would be west of Highway 14, north of Lacey Road, east of Cyene, and kind of south of Clayton there. But it's like a master plan neighborhood, and our traditional zoning is called Euclidean zoning by use. So you have your business, you have your residential, you have your industrial and everything. This falls under what we call our smart code zoning, which is based more on form. And it's got a specific block structure, and the buildings are up to the street with the parking underground or behind and everything. A more urban neighborhood, and it's premised on, in the middle of it, we have what we call T5, which is the higher density mixed use area. Then you go down to T4, that might be mixed use and have some townhomes. And then you go down to T3, which has some smaller lot single family, but it's supposed to be a complete neighborhood at full build out. So from this site, if you put a dot down on the Lacey Road interchange, within a 10-mile radius, you actually reach 70% of Greater Madison and Dane County's population. And that highlights the proximity and location of this particular neighborhood here. There's not a spot in Sun Prairie or Middleton that has that reach of 70% within a 10-mile radius for it. So we think there's some unique opportunities in this area. The first corporate anchor there is a company by the name of Shine Phoenix, which does neutron imaging. A lot of really smart people, scientists and engineers that are there. We're a great company to have located in Fitchburg. And then the rest of the development to date has been significant multifamily residential growth. You can see the list of projects there on the right. We've got over 1,700 multifamily units in this neighborhood. And I know a lot of people will say, well, why do we need more apartments? And we need more apartment inventory. We also need more single family. But the reason that this housing density is important for us is, and I know one of the questions I got here is about a restaurant here. But one of the most commonly questions we get over on this side is, when are we getting a grocery store? We can't have serious conversations with the grocers because they're looking at the trade ring, and they're going to look at a 1 mile, a 3 mile, a 5 mile. So we got really good numbers on the 10. We got really good numbers on the 5. We're okay on the 3, but the one we're really light. There's a lot of vacant land there. So when people ask me, well, why do we need more apartment units or more rooftops? That's why we need them. If we want grocery store, commercial services, restaurants and everything, they're going to run their trade ring analysis. They're going to look at population density. They're going to look at income levels and purchasing power, and they're going to look at traffic counts. And if we don't have those things, as much as we may want something there, they're not coming there. So that's the world that I'm trying to manage here and trying to encourage people to take a look at the area. Two projects that will help that along. One on the corporate side, UW Health, Unity Point, Meritor, and Life Point have a 40-bed physical rehabilitation hospital under construction in Uptown, right just east of the roundabout there. And that'll open in early '27. And then right at the roundabout, Avante Properties, the master developer, has 114-unit Lido apartments under construction at this site. So good population density. The other unique thing about the Lido apartments is an innovative program that we're piloting with them is we're incorporating workforce housing units within a market rate building. So 10% of the units in this Lido apartments are for people that are at 60% of Dane County median income. So something to be aware of, that there's some additional inventory of workforce housing units that are coming forward and incorporated within a market rate building.
Mike,
Yes?
Can you speak to senior apartments?
Yeah, there's some coming.
Okay.
Yeah, as we get to some more slides.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be hitting those on the tour.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. The one thing I wanted to point out, and Jeremy told me if I was going to walk, I had to take the mic here. But I wanted to just point out on this map. So right now we've got activity occurring here. This land here, so this is Lacey Road as you come off the interchange. This land here is still owned by the farm family, Holmes, Bobberschmidt, Osborne. And so one of the things we're trying to do is move that land along so developers can bring it forward. And one of the reasons for it is, as much as I said we need to work on trying to bring grocery, we have a developer that has an option on this land right here that is an experienced developer of grocery anchored projects there. I don't want to give anybody false hope. There is nothing imminent, nothing definite there. But at least we've got the interest of somebody that knows how to do these projects there. But that's where it would be really helpful for us to get more serious about the conversations if this land starts to open up with more residential and rooftops. And not only apartments, but also there's land there for smaller lots, single family, and we need those housing lots and units here too. So stay tuned on that, but we're at least starting to get on people's radar screens, a little bit for it. Then south of Uptown, put this back in here, we've got Hartung Fields. We opened up 120 acres there. This is important. You can see the kind of the brown and orange colors. That gives us some more land for and some larger lots for science and technology companies, which is important for us because sometimes we get requests for proposals from our partners at the state, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, and then our regional partner, MadRep, which is now part of the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce. And we haven't been able to respond to those because we didn't have the acreage available. So this at least puts us in the game where we can respond to some of those RFPs. The other thing that's occurring at Hartung Fields is the Juniper Apartments on the left-hand side. They opened last July. The townhomes in the middle, that's an important housing product that we need. There's 2 and 3 bedroom townhomes for families, 51 units that Corey Frank brought us. There's another apartment building under construction on the right-hand side, 210 units, the Rowan Apartments. And then in August of this year, we're excited to welcome the opening of Gigi's Playhouse, which is coming to Fitchburg, which provides services to families with individuals with Down syndrome. So a really good project right there at the corner of Lacey Road and Sain Road. So good stuff happening. And again, this helps that overall trade ring there because we're adding rooftops and purchasing power there. So important things happening. Now we're going to zip up Highway 14 and where you got Highway 14, McCoy Road, and County Trunk MM. There's the Cleanfill site in between there. Some years back, you might remember there was a Jesus statue on that site. And Pastor Phil had reached out to me recently asking where Jesus got moved to, and I'm trying to track down where the Jesus statue got moved to there. So I'm working on that right now. But we've got a local developer by the name of Mark Fairchild that's brought forward a comprehensive plan to reclaim that site, because you have to address the geotechnical on the site from an engineering standpoint. And we have a TID district in place to help make that happen. But what they're proposing are 2 multifamily buildings that would bring 315 units. Trilogy Health Services out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, Janice, is bringing us 119 unit independent, assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing, all the way up to skilled nursing care at the site. There will be 40 townhome units on the north end, and then 35 single-family lots on the west side of that property. But a really good infill development. And then in the apartment buildings, they're also going to be incorporating, I want to say, about 15,000 square feet of commercial space. So some maybe neighborhood services, excuse me, that would locate in that area. So we're hoping this project comes forward. They're expecting the total investment to be $104 million. So some really good tax base and investment at this site. Now we're heading up to the Novation campus just off the Beltline west of Rimrock Road. We've got a great group of corporate citizens up there. Quartz Insurance, Exact Sciences has their other lab processing facility there. The Zimbrick dealerships. We've got Delta Beer Lab up there. And then north of the pond, we've got Rutabaga Paddle Sports. South of the pond, we got the Greater Heights Climbing Gym. There's still some really good lots available here that are vacant that we're looking for development prospects and partners to locate in this campus. This, you might recall, was part of the town of Madison, and the city of Madison and the town of Madison, the city of Fitchburg had the 20-year annexation agreement, and in October of 2022, this area became part of the city of Fitchburg. So we're working to, again, reinvest in infill development in this neighborhood. Now we're coming down Fish Hatchery Road, the center of the city. That's the area of Fitchburg that developed when we were still a town. And so we're trying to transform that into the city of Fitchburg of today. And we've got a visioning document that we worked on with Vanderwall and Associates. And you might remember a couple years ago when we had road construction there, we did a generational reconstruction of Fish Hatchery Road with a $28.5 million investment in that corridor. There's 46,000 cars a day, believe it or not, that flows through that Beltline Greenway cross intersection there. So really good traffic counts and everything up there. So we created tax increment district number 10 to help pay for the road. And this is where the pressure was on us, because typically when we do a tax increment district, we like to make the public investment knowing that we've got the private sector valuation to come to help pay for that. This one, we didn't have that. It was kind of a hope and a prayer that if we invested the 28.5, that our private sector partners would respond with projects and investments in our community. And I'm very pleased to report that the private sector has responded very well to us. So these projects here, Park Bank, Highline Senior Apartments, Oshala Springs Apartments, Terrace Point Apartments, Bella Springs, the UW Credit Union, and now even the City on the Hill Church, even though that doesn't give us tax base, it is giving us the urban form as they move their building out to the street there, which we very much appreciate, and they do a lot of good work in the neighborhood there. So the TID is cash flowing, and it's working, up there, and we appreciate our private sector partners. And question?
Real quick. Talked about it a couple of times. Talk about a TID district. What does it do? Who pays for it? How does it get paid for? Because it's like, okay, we could put that money in, but how do we get it back? So, because a lot of people don't know.
Right. So the premise of the TID district is when you establish one, the geographic area that's included in the TID district and that tax base of those parcels those taxes continue to come into the city of Fitchburg, the county, Madison College, and the respective school district that it's in. But then any new valuation after that district is created and during the life of the TID district, that could be anywhere from 20 to 27 years for it. That new valuation in the increment that it generates provides us with the resources to invest in infrastructure and or provide development incentives to drive projects and make them happen. And then once the TID district would close after all the expenses are paid, then all of that new valuation and increment gets distributed again to all the taxing entities there. Fitchburg is very good fiduciary stewards of our TID districts because it's very rare that we would provide upfront assistance to a developer project. Okay, we operate under what we call a pay-as-you-go system, which is performance-based. So we will maybe have an agreed upon amount with the developer, but it's premised on them performing and their project actually generating the valuation and the increment that they've projected to us. And then our financial advisors run the project pro forma and the economic analysis to make sure that we're being good financial stewards of our resources there. So that's a very helpful local economic development tool for us. Did I answer your question kind of at a high level? Yeah, okay. In addition to the new development that's happening on Fish Hatchery Road, we've seen reinvestment in existing property up there. So the Renew at the Greens, Renew at High Ridge, both had $10 million reinvestment in that older, naturally occurring affordable housing stock up there. We have new owners, thankfully, at Hatchery Hill. We had some previously out-of-state owners that weren't necessarily the most positive for the community. So I'm very happy that we're back to local owners, and they are reinvesting in that development, which, believe it or not, Hatchery Hill is getting close to 30 years old. So just like a house, you know, there's reinvestment and capital items that need to be replaced. So this group is really off to a great start. And then the Wyndham Garden, you might have noticed, got an exterior paint facelift there. And then they've reinvested internally too in the rooms, all new mattresses, TVs, flooring, and everything there. So a really good refresh. And then they brought us an Italian Indian fusion restaurant at the top of that hotel called Zaffarino Ristorante. So if you haven't been there, check it out. I can attest to a really good brandy old fashioned and also a amaretto sour up there. So that one too, yeah. And I live in the neighborhood, so I can walk home then. Yeah. Up next on Fish Hatchery Road. So again, we're 28 million public investment. We're already at 100 million private sector investment. Our UPS store at Yarmouth Crossing purchased the property at the corner of Oshala Drive and Fish Hatchery Road, just south of the UW Credit Union building. You might have seen the building demolished in the last 2 days up there. This will be their new building over there on the left-hand side, Melissa and Sam Ross. So it will be the UPS store right on the corner. The building will be up to the street, and then I'll have space for 1 or 2 other commercial tenants up there. So again, urban form, that's what we're trying to accomplish along Fish Hatchery Road. The next big project, and a regular question we get is, when is Bowman Plaza redevelopment going to start? Where the Stop and Go C-store and BP used to be, that should get demolished in the next couple of weeks here. And then that will be transformed into the tallest building in Fitchburg, 7 stories with 5 floors of apartments, about 278 units. And then they're bringing back almost 12,000 square feet of commercial space. The building will be right up to the street, and then it takes 2 floors of structured parking to accommodate that. So it's the 5/2 is how you get that there. $77 million investment in that project there. We're part of it in the TID deal at $7 million, but that's what it took to drive that project, and we wanted to go big on that site. The other one that is just coming to the forefront is this would be north of the High Line on the north side of Traceway Drive. EJ Plesko has that vacant land, and they're proposing right now a 70-unit WIDA LIHTC affordable building that would average 60%. It's not necessarily just for seniors, it's for all age there, but it is some new affordable housing stock that they would be bringing at that site. So we don't know yet. Yeah, to be determined there for that one. So with those investments, we will be over 200 million in private sector investment. So from Fitchburg taxpayer standpoint, our investment of 28 million in public dollars, we're getting a good return on that investment, and we're transforming what was the town of Fitchburg into the city of Fitchburg of today. Then as we start to head west on McKee Road, on the west side of McKee Farms Park, I always like to highlight our senior housing here. So we've got the courtyard that has assisted living and memory care, again, bringing us some much needed inventory in our community. And then If you were wondering what happened to Benvenuto's, the former Italian restaurant there, that's been transformed into the Fairway Lounge. They've got golf simulators there if you're a golf enthusiast, but they also have the bar and the lounge still there.
Is it a full bar?
It's a full bar,
Okay.
yes. And then they serve Salvatore pizza pies. If you're looking for a good pizza, not a lot of people know that. And then they have a rotation of food trucks that they're bringing in periodically as well. So if you haven't been there, stop in there and check it out. I've been there a couple of times and had good experiences, there. So we're glad to see a good repositioning of a building, a restaurant building there. Now we're heading further west, Seminole Highway and McKee Road. We've got the Oak Retail Building, which provides us some Class A retail commercial space, which we need to have more of in our community. And then we've got the Painters Union in the middle. They took the building south of the theater overflow parking lot there and remodeled that building, and that's where their headquarters is. And then Terso Solutions, which has an office building on Research Park Drive, but they also have the building in the upper left there, just south of the AMC theaters. They're reinvesting in that building, and that will be their headquarters and provide them with additional manufacturing space as well. They have these, they're kind of like mini bars that do the RFID scanning technology there, but they're mini bars for like science test kits there. So what's really cool about it is if there's a lab at a university or at a company that takes a product out, the RFID technology immediately sends that information to Promega Corporation, because this is kind of an offshoot of Promega, and they know to replenish that inventory and that supply of that test kit for it. So again, very efficient and productivity incorporated with that business model. Then our friends at General Beverage, they recently did a really nice headquarters expansion. They've got some land south of Cottonwood Drive for a future warehouse expansion. The timing of that will be contingent upon some decisions in what they call the spirits world. So the Galas and the Constellation brands, depending on which product lines they're looking to have more inventory and capacity for. But good investment occurring there. Then east of Verona Road, north of Lacey Road, here again we're using that local economic development tool, tax increment finance, and north of Lacey and along Commerce Park Drive. This is where it's a remnant of our township days, where we've got still quarries that are being reclamated by Payne and Dolan. So we've got a TID district in place for future clean manufacturing, light industrial uses as we reclaim this land and this area. And it abuts the Sub-Zero campus and also the Promega CMC manufacturing building that's over there. Then speaking of Sub-Zero, they've got probably 60 acres here in Fitchburg, and just recently moved into their new corporate headquarters and conference center north of their Barn Hospitality facility that's on their campus. So as their signs say on Seminole Highway, Fitchburg now is truly their global campus and their global headquarters, there. So really cool to have them. They're great corporate citizens and great community citizens there. And I'll talk more about how they're driving another really good community development project here in Fitchburg. But we're delighted to have their executive team here in Fitchburg. You might have heard that Edgewood University had acquired 40 acres of land south of Lacey Road, adjacent to the Badger State Trail from the O'Brien family. And they're planning to consolidate all of their sporting teams and events here on an athletic and wellness campus. The first thing you're going to start to see there is on the right-hand side, that right now is kind of a degraded farm wetland that they are going to restore into an ecological laboratory, into a pristine wetland again. So they're going to start work on that this fall. In preparation for next year, you'll start to see some of the work for the athletic fields. The field house that you see on there and more of the indoor facilities, the timing of those will be based off of when they have kind of those private sector lead donors to drive those projects through a capital campaign. But this is going to be a cool kind of complex and facility to have here in Fitchburg and bring people to Fitchburg. We've worked quietly with the Verona Area School District the last couple of years, and they're well positioned for the future. They acquired some land between on the west side of Verona Road between King James Way and Capec, where our fire station used to be, which is now the Dane County Emergency Management Backup System or operations there. And hopefully in about 5 years, that's going to be a neighborhood elementary school, which is, again, one of those really good positive community development things, because right now kids in that area are bused to all different directions as far as schools. So this is something that'll really have a positive impact on that neighborhood. The other thing or parcel that they purchased quietly, we introduced them to the Lacey family. They bought the Lacey farm, 60 acres at Muchler and Lacey Road. And in 20 years, they're envisioning they're going to have a need for a second high school. And that high school will be based here in Fitchburg. And when we did our last Forward Fitchburg Economic Development Strategic Plan, that was one of our recommendations, was to try and identify land where there could be a place-based high school here in Fitchburg. I never thought we'd get it done in this cycle, but we've got it on the radar screen here. So for the next generation, we're well positioned for kind of the challenge of not having our own school district and being part of 3 school districts here. So we're trending positive there. Now I'm back to Sub-Zero being a good community partner. Now we're on McKee Road at Spoke and Sprocket, just west of the Badger State Trail as you enter in kind of the Thermo Fisher campus and by Playcon there. The Bakke family, Bakke and Schwartz, the owners of Sub-Zero, are the lead donors to drive a new West Side YMCA of Dane County facility on this site. 97,000 square feet. We'll have 2 pools. The walking track that I know I've heard from our seniors before. Mike, when are we going to get a walking track indoor and everything? There's going to be childcare capacity for 100 babies on up to 4 years old. And the other really cool thing about this that's unique is they're incorporating an Access Community Health primary care clinic into this site. 10,000 square feet of primary care. We went and toured the one on South Park Street and talked to the director there. They're anticipating at full build out, and after they've ramped up, they will serve 5,000 residents and citizens for primary care just out of this location. So it shows the need for those services and facilities in this area. So thank you to Sub-Zero. This was also one of the last gifts of Jerry Frauci while he was still living as well. So really nice signature project for him. So again, a good generational community development project. We also have the McKenzie Regional Workforce Center that is in that Thermo Fisher campus. That's a good employment initiative that provides training for people looking to get into the building trades, which, as you know, there's a desperate need for a new generation of labor in the trades. So a really good employment initiative. Now we're going to switch to the west side of Verona Road, where the Quick Trip used to be on Williamsburg Way. There, La Hispana purchased that building and opened up a small grocery store. And then our friends at the Latino Chamber, they purchased the Roughing It in Style furniture building there along Verona Road, or they were renting it. Now they've purchased that building. The Wisconsin Latino Chamber of Commerce is in that building. Yeah. So they are going to do some investments and renovations and modifications to that, but they've been a really good partner with us having a diverse population. We work very closely with the Wisconsin Latino Chamber of Commerce, and we work very closely with Camille and the Black Chamber of Commerce there. They've been great partners with us on a number of activities and initiatives. Then staying on the west side, this morning I did a presentation to the Fitchburg Chamber at the Fowler Event Center on the west side of Verona Road. That is the new headquarters for Blue Plate Catering, a complete reinvestment in that building for their catering operations, and an event center that can accommodate about 150 people. So if you're looking for a place to host something, they do a great operation there. And what a neat transformation of what was multiple furniture store brands over 30 years. And then most recently, Little John's at that site. So this is a great transformation of that. Then the building immediately to the north of this facility recently was the Loxley Event Center. Prior to that, Mad Power Yoga. But if you've been around long enough, the Dry Bean Saloon there. And Los Perez is going to be remodeling and investing in that store to open up another supermarket and also incorporate a taqueria where you can go for lunch and tacos. I'm not sure. Yeah, I haven't seen the menu yet, so I'll keep you posted as I learn more on that. Okay. And then a butcher, bakery, and everything. So again, a much needed service in this neighborhood and everything. And a good repositioning of these buildings because, after we finish the 7-year road reconstruction of Verona Road, the buildings face Verona Road, but the access comes from the west. So to see a repositioning of these buildings and reuse is really positive and helpful for us.
When is that grocery store getting off the ground?
They have to add some freezers and coolers and everything, so they got all their permits, is my understanding. So now it'll be kind of at their pace. So we haven't heard exactly when the opening will be, but hopefully they'll have a ribbon cutting and we get out there for a special event for that. Now we're continuing on the west side where the quarries are. So across from Super Target on the west side of Fitchburg Road. We're reclaiming one of the quarries, again, a remnant of our township days here. So you see a lot of construction activity there. So right at Fitchburg and McKee Road, the first building under construction is Chase Bank in the upper left. The next one is Chick-fil-A. Yeah, the next one that hasn't started construction yet is on the lower left. Crew Car Wash is going to be starting construction hopefully sometime later this year. And then the fourth one, as we abut the city of Madison by Maple Grove, there will be another McDonald's at that site. So those are the 4 across the front. Okay, so we've got those coming. And then as you go up Fitchburg Road and it veers to the east, our friend Corey Frank is leasing up really well the Jamestown Quarry Apartments, 273 market rate units at that site. But then on June 24th, we worked with the Joint Review Board, which are all the representatives of the taxing entities that have to authorize us with any TID activity here. We went to them to amend the TID 17 territory and project plan with an amendment. And you can see kind of the red colored area that we added to the TID district. And you can see on the far left there is the land north of those 4 users across the front. With that amendment, the developer, Jeff Hundley out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, is going to be bringing us a almost 70,000 square foot retail center there that will have 4 tenants, and it will include shopping retail and then also a specialty grocer to be named at a later date. I can't say anything yet, but our activity and support here is with a specific specialty grocer in mind. We're helping to cover the cost of some excess soil that needs to be trucked off the site, or a huge retaining wall, and undergrounding of the stormwater to accommodate this intensity of development. And then on the north end of that property, north of the retail center, Corey Frank is going to do another 290 unit market rate apartment building. He said the leasing activity is going really well for the first building, so he's teeing up a second building at that site. The portion...
Sorry. Yeah. Are there any specifics to seniors or?
No, these are all age. Okay. There, yeah. But there's, as I get around the corner here, there's more, there's another senior one I'll mention. Okay. Then as you go down Nesbitt Road, we're really excited. Our friend Raveen Shah, who brought us the Staybridge Suites, opened Spring Hill Suites by Marriott along Nesbitt Road adjacent to Pancake Cafe. 100 rooms over there, really quality product. And in Fitchburg, we've been wanting to kind of access the Marriott portfolio. We'd also like to bring some Hilton flags here. Hopefully when we are focused on hotels in the uptown neighborhood on the east side, we bring some of those brands. But he's a really good quality product and quality operator there with hotels. Yep, yeah, yeah. Now we get to the senior housing, Janice, here. On Nesbitt Road, north of Gymfinity Gymnastics, J.T. Klein broke ground for 80 units of Oak Ridge senior housing, WIDA LIHTC affordable. So my understanding is it'll average kind of that 60% of median income there for it. So, because one of the things we've been trying to be strategic about when we did our housing plan in 2019, it said that we needed 600 units of additional senior housing units across a whole spectrum and continuum. With this project, we're probably, since 2019, we're probably over the 500 level as far as units that have been brought, everything from market rate independent to affordable independent to assisted living to memory care and everything. And we've tried to be strategic that we do it along all three of our north-south corridors because, you know, if people are living on the east side, they don't necessarily want to completely uproot themselves from where maybe their churches and their friends and their family. So we've been strategic about let's make sure we got some along the east side, 14, down the middle with Fish Hatchery Road, and now on the west side as well. And we're accomplishing that. The one thing we still will need on the west side, because we have the Quarry Ridge resort lifestyle communities. I kind of call that the cruise ship of senior living, where you pay your one monthly fee and everything's kind of included. Now we've got some affordable coming, but one thing we could use on the west side still is assisted living and memory care. So we're out there with developers kind of sending that message that we really could use some product of that on the west side, Fitchburg. Now we're shifting down to the southeast corner of Fitchburg where we border the village of Oregon. As you might know, we have the Oak Hill Correctional Facility here in Fitchburg, and there's a need in the state for new juvenile facilities. There's one being constructed in Milwaukee. There is going to be one built adjacent to the Oak Hill campus down in that area, 102,000 square feet. As you can see there, it'll have accommodations for 32 males and 8 females there. So this is important not only to provide that capacity for the state and the Department of Corrections, but it also is bringing the city of Fitchburg and the village of Oregon together. This project, as well as the Oregon School District, bought land on the west side of MM as you go into the village of Oregon. So by virtue of these two projects, the two communities that have engaged with CARPC, the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, to bring us together to do some joint planning for future development at that interchange down there. And so we'll hopefully see a report in the first quarter of 2027 of how our communities can work together on development where the land is physically in Fitchburg, but the utilities would come from Oregon because we don't have utility extensions. So it's going to be a really good example of a unique partnership and intergovernmental cooperation and how two communities can work together to be mutually beneficial there. So we're excited about that. Now I just got a couple more slides. Now we're shifting to housing because with the dynamics in the housing market, housing has become more and more of a local priority that people are looking to local communities to help address. Even though there's a lot of factors we don't control. We don't control the land prices. We don't control construction costs, building materials, labor costs. We don't control interest rates. So there's a lot of factors outside of our control. But we do control, to some degree, kind of that availability of land, which impacts kind of the dynamics of supply and demand there. So in 2019, the council adopted our first Fitchburg housing plan. And this was kind of in our entry stage here. So out of this, we created a housing advisory committee. We created the position that my colleague Lorene Gage has as our new housing initiatives and program specialist. This is her second anniversary here. And she's been a great asset to our community, helping to move housing initiatives forward. And then with successful tax increment districts, you can keep them open one more year and use that additional year of increment if it goes towards a housing fund where 75% has to be used for affordable housing and then 25% can be used for general housing categories. So we had multiple successful TID districts that we did the one-year extension, which generated $10.5 million for our housing fund. So some of the things we've been working on are we put money into the Efficiency Navigator program for those smaller mom and pop multifamily owner rental units, 20 units or less with sustained gain, to do energy efficiency upgrades that actually benefit the tenants there. And they have to commit to maintaining affordability for at least 5 years as part of our participation with that. We've used some of our money to help fill the gap in some of the WIDA Light-Tech developments. Uptown Hills over here, which is bringing us some additional townhome units north of Lacey and Haight Farm Road, was part of that deal. There's a potential we're going to do some land banking here in the city where we would maybe acquire some land and then issue a request for proposal if we're looking for a specific type of development there. As we look to maybe some single-family development, and we've got a proposal to us by local developer Gary Gorman about trying to bring some new single-family development at a price point of maybe $350,000, which our current average home value right now is $505,000 there. But as part of that, we maybe would incorporate down payment assistance, but we would need to make that a citywide program, and we're working on some of the parameters for that. And then one that might be of interest with the audience here and with the senior center is, and I know Lorene has been in contact with the social workers about a housing stability fund, specifically for people that are currently renters that maybe are at risk of homelessness there, and putting some parameters together about how there could be some one-time assistance to help somebody kind of bridge that gap so they don't lose their housing. So that's one that is kind of winding through our internal processes right now as we define the parameters for that. But since 2019, as you all know, the housing market has changed dramatically there. So we did an update to the housing plan that was just adopted by the council in April of 2026. We worked with Redevelopment Resources. So we're going to continue to advance the initiatives that I just covered. We're extending another round of the Efficiency Navigator program. We can tap into some federal funding through the Community Development Block Grant Pro Housing program. And then we're looking to incorporate a housing dashboard on our city website as well to provide information, data, and statistics as we're making progress on some of these initiatives. Housing, while it's a local priority, we operate in a regional market here in the Greater Madison region. So we appreciate the efforts of the Dane County Regional Housing Strategies. And if you've been following along with their analysis, the big number here is Greater Madison and Dane County need 7,000 housing units annually between now and 2040 to catch up with the supply that wasn't built after the last recession and to stay pace with the population growth, with Dane County being the fastest county in the state of Wisconsin there, to help get the housing market back into equilibrium, both from a multifamily rental perspective, but also from a single family. Because none of us have a checkbook big enough until we get that supply and demand back into some level of equilibrium there. So we think we're trying to do our part here in Fitchburg. And here's our housing statistics here. But the reason we're in the predicament that we're in with single family is if you look after the last recession back up there in 2010, for almost 10 years, we had less than 50 single family housing starts here in Fitchburg. And it wasn't that there wasn't demand for single family, it was just that we didn't have subdivisions and lots through the entitlement process there. Now, the last couple of years, 2018 on up to 24, we've been more in the range where we should be. We should be averaging 100 to 150 single-family permits every year. But as you can see now in 2025, and even here in 26, we're trending lower again, and that's because we're running out of lots in the various school districts. Multifamily, we're keeping pace, and we're meeting the numbers that we need to meet to kind of meet some of those regional objectives there. But we really need to figure out where can we open up some more land for some single-family subdivisions. So here are some of the most recent subdivisions. These three were in the Verona School District, built out, great quality housing and subdivisions with a variety of housing options. But we're literally out of lots in the Verona School District for single-family at this time. We've got Newcomb Construction is bringing us multifamily in the Verona School District right at Seminole Highway and Lacey Road. They've got the first building under construction, 3 stories, 59 units. At full build-out, there will be 5 buildings with 304 units total. So that's helpful. Payne and Dolan has land at Fitch-Verona Road and Lacey Road that's in the urban service area, But so far, they haven't reached agreement with a developer to bring that land forward through the process there. So we desperately would like to see this come forward. That would at least get us, an inventory of some lots until hopefully those quarry operations end at South Stoner, and we can start to extend the urban service area south and open up that property. Shifting to the east in the Madison School District, we're trying to do infill wherever we can get it to get some lots. So there's 11 lots that surround the Oak Meadows neighborhood there south of the Noble Ridge condominium. So that gets us a little there. And then in Swan Creek, the last lot there north of East Sherrill Parkway, there's 57 lots for small lot, single family and twin home units there. That's getting us some inventory in the Madison School District. So that's helpful. Then as we shift to the Oregon School District, Fahey Fields is building out the last couple of lots in that development. And then we've got Highfield Reserve that Viridian is doing, and they're bringing kind of a certain amount every year, which is helpful. And then we still have some multifamily development as part of Irish Fields there, which is good. The Lacey Woods duplex condominiums that are here just north of Lacey Road on the southern end of Swan Creek, built out very quickly and popular with empty nesters there. And if you talk to realtors, they said they could sell that product all day long if we had more inventory, of that. Yeah. So that's another one is we're working with developers to kind of communicate that message to them of, hey, we need this type of product because it's all on one story, and good square footage. So it's not like you're, going from a big house to, a small unit or anything there. And then at Lacey Road in Notre Dame, the first two buildings of the Lacey Ridge townhomes are for sale. They've sold a couple of those units. Those are for kind of first-time buyers and young professionals and everything there, but that gives us some good inventory of some housing stock. And then as we move to Terra Vesa, the neighborhood on the east side of MM, over there by the Forest Edge Elementary School. You got the Flight Wine and Bourbon Bar over there, Toddy's Coffee and Sandwich Shop and everything. It's hard to believe they're already starting their fifth and final phase of that development. Phil Sveum is the master developer. The final phase will have about 50 lots. The builders over there are Tim O'Brien, Altera, and Encore. So they'll finish out that neighborhood and development. Corey Frank has been doing some of the multifamily over there. The next signature project to come that kind of rounds out the rest of the development is Cesta, senior housing, Janice, brought to us by Illuminus. And that's going to have a four-story building with 124 senior apartments and then 40 senior assisted living units and 12 memory care over there to kind of complete that neighborhood. And my understanding is they're planning to break ground in October of this year. Yes. They're getting to their threshold of their reservations that they have to be able to make the decision to move forward and everything. But it seems like all systems are go from what I've heard. And then lastly, I just want to show you, we've got some drone footage if this works right, an overview of that Terra Vesa neighborhood so you can kind of see it from on top of how it's come together. This is also a smart code neighborhood, so that's why you see the smaller lots. You see the buildings up to the street with the parking behind and to the side. It's meant to be a sustainable neighborhood, and that Forest Edge Elementary School and the Mariposa Daycare, the multicultural daycare, has really been a magnet for families to move into and locate in that neighborhood there. But you can just see kind of the quality of the overall development and everything, and really neat project here. They're going to, on the southeast end of that, there's a park there that they're going to, they're working with our Parks Department to start to put some additional infrastructure, including some garden plots there. Not the full one that was envisioned, but to start small and to scale it within that development. So that concludes our tour, and I'd be happy to take any questions. I had 3 here. I mentioned about the restaurant. We would love to have more restaurants. In fact, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we've been putting the word out to people. We have access to data analytics software through a company by the name of Buxton that we've been subscribing to the last couple of years. And we can actually run trade ring demographics that I was talking about, so that way we can give them data and speak their language. Because sometimes when you're talking to, especially if it's a national franchise, you get somebody that's in Massachusetts looking at Google Earth, and they're like, well, there's vacant land there. So we have to help kind of tell the story and make the case of not only what's built and in the ground already, but then what the plans and the visions are and what's coming there, to get them to maybe come a little earlier than the market completely being there. That's why the message we're trying to convey to grocery people in Uptown is now's the time to get in, because the development along that corridor is really accelerating. And even if they started construction in 2027, the store wouldn't open probably until Q1 of 2029. So imagine what that area is going to look like in another 2 years, over there. So we're continuing to do that. What is Fitchburg doing to attract and retain Black businesses? Again, we work very closely with the Camille and the Black Chamber of Commerce, over there, and engage with them. And then for some Black-owned businesses that we have that are looking for either new space, we work with them very directly. I can think of Keenan at American Family Insurance and everything. And then we've also been, there's a gentleman that Duke Harvey sent my way from Need a Relief Day Spa as well, that was looking for a location. So we were giving him some ideas. And then he also needed some assistance with kind of putting his business plan together. So we connected him with the SCORE, which is the Society of Retired Business Executives. But they provide really good resources to help people develop business plans and kind of look for financing and things like that. So we're happy to work with people to bring more businesses. One thing in our TID districts, and we haven't had time, quite frankly, to get to this yet, but in multiple TID districts, the three, the one in Fish Hatchery Road, Southdale, and then the one on the west side, we put a line item in there for entrepreneurship, specifically with kind of diverse businesses in mind there, but we haven't developed the programs yet for it. So that's something that we've got to give some thought to on how that would work and everything. As part of the Forward Fitchburg update that we're doing, because we want more retail, commercial businesses of all types and diverse businesses and everything, but sometimes our businesses struggle, and this has to do with how Fitchburg developed. Because we didn't have that traditional downtown like other communities, we don't have that older stock of buildings that are there. So I'll tell you, we lost two businesses specifically because of that, two great businesses here. One was the Cosa Women's Boutique on Nesbitt Road, and they ended up moving to Verona because they could buy a building downtown. So instead of leasing, they could control their economic destiny because they purchased a building. The other one was located at Hatchery Hill, where I live, and it was Dave's Guitar Shop on the street side. And that drew people from all over. It was a regional draw there. They ended up buying a building in Sun Prairie because they could buy it and control their destiny. So as part of Forward Fitchburg, we're having a developer roundtable on Thursday, July 30th. And I've specifically put together a panel of, I've got a banker, I've got a commercial broker, I've got a developer that's doing mixed use in Fitchburg, and who am I missing? Then I got a realtor too there. And what we're going to ask them is, are there some strategies and suggestions that they have for us, especially as we're looking at new buildings here, to help kind of make the economics work? So, for example, and this is where I want to really rely on these experts. Let's say we're doing a multi-story mixed-use building in Uptown. Is there something we could do through the tax increment district over there where we would, on that first floor that would be for retail commercial buildings, we would work with the developer to make that actually a condominium? So instead of the businesses leasing the space, they would have an opportunity to buy it under a condominium ownership. And so those are some of we got to be creative, here, because sometimes the numbers aren't working, especially not so much for the national franchises or tenants, but the local entrepreneurs and mom and pops and everything. And how do you come up with a business model that can work with them, but also works for the project pro forma for the developer for that building? So those are some of we want to kind of be creative and look at some unique strategies, there.
Your entrepreneur point, with the demographics in Fitchburg changing tremendously, the diversity and what have you, we've grown amazingly so. I think that entrepreneur program will be absolutely excellent and very much needed.
Mm-hmm.
However, can you talk to me a little bit about, you guys are doing a wonderful job, right? And your builders and your developers. What's the diversity within your builders and your developers?
We work with, minority, developers that come forward, to us. And we have a very open door and would like to see more, activity. We worked with two guys out of Milwaukee, Terrell Walter and Kevin Newell with Royal Capital. I don't know if you know those guys, but they did a really good project, a redevelopment of the Maple Lawn Apartments there, south of Greenway Cross that we worked on. That clean fill site between Highway 14 and MM, they had an option on that property for a couple of years, but then they relinquished it because when they had the option, the economics were more favorable. Then, of course, construction costs changed, interest rates changed, so they decided not to move forward with that project, and that's where Mark Fairchild is doing it now. And then I know Alder Joe Maldonado has sent a couple of people to us through the years that I've actually sat down with and have kind of given a variation of this presentation, like where are their development opportunities, in Fitchburg. And then he even sent a student our way recently that was working on a project that we met with and answered questions, and everything. The one thing we don't control is we can kind of give them ideas and options, but then it's kind of in their court, to get an option on a property and bring a development project and proposal, forward, at that time. But, if they're looking at something in, one of our TID districts, they would be able to go through our process just like anybody else would with, here's your proposed project, what is the gap? It's got to meet the but-for test, and then go through our tax increment district analysis that we do with Ellers, our financial, advisors. And one thing I say to people is, as much as we have a lot of development activity happening here in Fitchburg, we want more developers developing in Fitchburg because we have more land available than we have developers for, at this point in time. So we would love to find, more partners and everything. I know one gentleman, Julian Walters, from Eminent Development, we've met with him, previously, and I know when we've had some kind of sites that were coming up for sale, we've kind of let him know about those and everything. And then I just heard recently, I'm from the Wausau area, and he just got approval for a project up in, I think, in the downtown area of Wausau, up there. Yeah.
Definitely in Madison and what have you, and I know about the Wausau thing.
Yeah.
So my point was, I think you guys are doing some amazing work, and that would like to be able to see, a little more diversity in terms of developers and what have you. Now, sure, you're probably working with that, with Camille and what have you. But in terms of smaller businesses, ethnic, related businesses, that would be really nice because our population and demographics have changed so much out here.
Yeah.
And so instead of our people having to go to Madison to look, it would be wonderful for them to be able to shop right here in Fitchburg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you. And even on the restaurant front, like the Zaffarino Ristorante, that's minority owned. There are Tapatios just did a great expansion and everything there. So we love that. We would like to see more of that variety, diversity, and everything. One thing we've talked about, we have a local revolving loan fund program. And when we capitalized that many years ago, you know, the most risky businesses, of course, are restaurants and retail there. So when we wrote the guidelines for that program, we excluded those categories, okay? And, you know, it's been 20-some years since we, you know, wrote those guidelines. And so Joyce, Lorene, and I have been talking about, is it time to update those? If we're
say it's time for a rewrite.
yeah, if we're saying we want restaurant and retail, is there a way to mitigate as much as possible risk associated with those types of businesses, if that's what we're trying to bring to our community, you know, here. So we want to have some of those conversations because we want to see more of those retail restaurant businesses, you know, coming, and again with that diversity and variety. That gives you that local flavor, and that local sense of place and everything.
Community. I mean,
and community, yeah. But that's where the economics of our real estate here, I think, is still a challenge for us with kind of the per square foot price for the local entrepreneurs, you know, there. So this developer roundtable that we're having on the 30th, we've invited definitely some minority developers and some people that have been through the ACRE program at Marquette University. So hopefully we get some perspective and input from them at that roundtable.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Well, yeah. Any other questions? I know we lost some of the group here, but yeah. And then regarding the strip mall at Post and Fish Hatchery Road, that's the Fitchburg Ridge Shopping Center. I think you're referencing there. And it's a question about customers to park legally to make access to their business easier. And I've experienced it myself. I don't know how much more we can do because the customers that are going to that center, for whatever reason, have a tendency to just park in front of the building there and not in the parking stalls. And I know our police and our fire department have tried, you know, and made multiple attempts, but they don't necessarily have the time to be up there, you know, on an ongoing basis. So it's something that maybe the property owner or the businesses are going to need to kind of take the lead on. But I've experienced it myself, you know, going to some of the businesses up there, and the cars are literally lined up, you know, all the way from kind of the dollar store down to the liquor store there. And it's a tricky site because it's the way the buildings are laid out there. It really gets condensed, and there's a pinch point on that southern end where the shopping center is, and then you get to the chiropractor and the dentist and the Dairy Queen. There's more room on the north end where the dialysis is, but unfortunately where people are parking in the fire lane is more at that pitch point, and so it compounds the situation, you know, out there. But I'm not sure how much more we can do on that one at this point in time.
Those questions came in from someone who normally comes to these sessions, but couldn't make it. So, but they really want to get. So
no, I'm glad they sent the questions in. Appreciate that. So I think I answered, you know, the questions there. Any other from the group left? And feel free to take my business card. And if you ever have questions, if you see some dirt being moved or shovel in the ground and are like, what's going there? Feel free to email me or give me a call. We're happy to answer any questions for people. But thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it, and always happy to come out and give updates.
So did I tell you this guy has all kind of knowledge? I mean, who walks around with all that information in their head other than Mike Z? And so I think give him a round of applause because this has been absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Glad to do it. Yeah.